And that's like really important for us. So like we almost like it when people are like the right size and athletic and have played field hockey or soccer. And if they've only done a little bit of sailing, that's fine too. But we can kind of like coach them up pretty quickly, and they kind of are the best fit. I think that's pretty consistent across the board. And I think there's very few teams. There's maybe one or two teams I think that are fully people that have done sailing at a high level, the whole time. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
You mentioned the commitment and what you have to be committed. Roughly how many hours a week would you expect your athletes to be doing sailing and training sailing dedicated to that?
Good question. Yeah. So the question is how many hours a week kind of is the sailing commitment, and it really varies from school to school. I would be willing to guess that our team probably has one of the highest. Well, in the fall we have one of the highest hourly counts. In the spring when our lake's frozen for a while, people around here, we count about 3 hours of practice every day, and then the team lifts twice a week for an hour. And then on one of those other days that we don't lift, we have our team meeting. So that's kind of how we get up to all that time. And that's probably, teams look different. I know Frank's team, for instance, practices only 3 days a week, but their practices are a little bit longer, and they lift on their off day. They take their mandatory day off on a different day. So it looks a little different from school to school, but it's, basically that's what it looks like. And then weekends, obviously, weekend regatta competition is a significant time commitment. It's better if you live in Boston. It's closer, you're closer to more of the venues, but it's going to be a big time commitment no matter what. So, at the end of the day, college is all about managing your discretionary time, and if you're on a really high-level team, you're going to devote a lot of the discretionary time to sailing. That's how it goes. And you'll be good at it because of that, which is great. Good question.
Cool, let's, can we just get Carter into the...
Sure.
I'm not a college coach currently, but I did go to college. Thanks, Ken, for pointing that out. I did go to Hobart College. I grew up right here in Cumberland, Maine, went to Greeley, graduated from there. We did actually have high school sailing back then, barely. We had a State of Maine championship every year up in MDI. And it was in the spring and it was cold, and there were probably 8 boats there every year. Not necessarily worthy of putting on your sailing resume for a coach when you're looking around at that time. But I've been through this process. I was where you are not too long ago, probably, 50 years ago at this point. But it's changed quite a bit since I've done it. And what has changed is that we've had a lot of great sailors come through this community that have kind of put Maine on a map. Pete Levesque, to be specific, Pete went to Tufts, was a 4-time All-American, 3-time All-American. I don't know, slacking off his freshman year. Wasn't allowed to sail, maybe. Just didn't start. And so that's a good point. So when I was going through this, it might have been a little bit more difficult to get the foot in the door, but as some of these guys said, you send out your feelers to these different coaches. First of all, academics, the numbers certainly make a big difference. Some doors were definitely closed to me right from the get-go based on my academics. So work hard in high school. For instance, had a really good connection with Harvard. Mike Horn was there. He coached up here in the summer times. And Mike's like, I want you on the team. I want you here. But the academics just weren't quite there to get me there. So it is super important. So I ended up at Hobart. And one of the reasons why I ended up there was that the coach really took an interest. He was building a team. And I have a unique experience where I went to a club team that turned into a varsity team that was not on the map. Nobody knew what Hobart College was. until probably our junior and senior year. Our senior year, we were ranked #1 in the country all year long, every single ranking. So it was a really interesting experience to really build that and to see the difference between club and varsity, and to see the transition from sailing a few days a week to sailing every day a week and doing weight training and all the different cross training that's really become standard in college sailing now. When I was a freshman, that didn't exist. Hardly anybody was doing weight training. I was actually surprised to hear about it tonight, having been removed from college sailing quite a bit. But that's really interesting to hear and super important, because one of the things I was going to mention tonight was you want to be the lightest and strongest you can be to be successful in college sailing. And college sailing, meaning dinghy sailing on the weekends, not necessarily big boat sailing at Kings Point. And that's one of the things I'd like to mention, is that dinghy sailing on the weekends and team racing and fleet racing, that's not the only option out there. So there's sloop racing, there's single-handed, there's lots of different sailing out there. It's a lifelong sport. So college sailing doesn't necessarily work out for you at the institution that you end up in. Sailing can still be a part of your life all for the rest of your life, and it's really important to keep that in mind. Because a lot of these teams are very good and they only have a certain amount of spots. The other thing I would like to say is when you're looking at a school, the travel distance, it's going to become kind of important, because certainly from Hobart, everybody was 8 hours away. So 8 hours in a car to a different school every weekend is quite a bit. And when I went to school, I was sailing about 9 regattas spring and fall out of 11 weeks, is it still? Yeah. So I had maybe 2 weekends off, and that's a lot of travel. But the travel to practice was about 45 seconds. So the sailing area from my dorm room or the apartment that I was in that had a water view of the lake was pretty slick. You literally walked down the hill and you were in a boat in 15 minutes and on the water and you were sailing. So think about that. Think about the area that you'll be sailing in. The Charles, we're in Boston, which is maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes T-ride from wherever you are, might be an interesting place to sail, but it's probably doesn't hold a candle to Kings Point, which has an amazing area to sail. It's typically much windier, much more open water, and a better variety of boats at times. So there's definite trade-offs in each place, and so location and type of boat and type of water you're sailing in is something that you should be thinking of. The other thing I would say is something that these guys said, email them. I gravitated to the coaches that gave me the time of day, honestly. If they were willing to meet with me at the school, talk to me, that meant they were motivated, looking for sailors. And to me, that meant a lot, and that meant that they wanted to build a program. And I thought that was something that was interesting more than going into an already established program. And those are out there as well. And they ebb and flow at different schools. Just because they were established at one time doesn't mean they're not getting into another building program now. So that's a bit of my experience, and I think we're going to open it up to questions.
So if anybody has a question, just raise your hand and fire away. Henry?
So would it be expected that if you're on the team that you sail fall and spring? Is that
Yes.
That is, okay, thank you.
I think that's a good example though of where the commitment level can be different between like a club team and a varsity team. And like when I was at Vermont, we had a kid who was
Match race national champs and our single hand national champs, and but it's really one big season with a winter break.
yeah, it's tough to be good if you don't see all those seasons.
Do you continue to train as a team?